Hi, guys. It is Mrs. England, and I am reporting to you from normal. And it is currently Wednesday. I enjoyed the nice weather as much as could. I got some grading done. So if you check in the grade book, it's what got in last night was 2 grades. And then tonight I'm going to start working on putting in your salamander models. Um, what I'd like you guys to do moving forward is if we have quit forms, you can redo them, but I'd like you to redo them before 9 o'clock the next day. So kind of keep up on those. And then if it's an assignment that I've already graded, then you need to email me about I don't think I'm going to go back and redo those. I don't think I'm going to have you redo the salamanders because I'm going to see if you figured it out with your assessment. Okay, so this is your Thursday. Happy Thursday. Already Thursday, which is really your Friday, because we have no school tomorrow. Tomorrow is Good Friday, so you have tomorrow off. But you are welcome to work on your speciation story assignment. So I'll talk about that in a second. Today, my goal with you guys is to review a couple salamander models. There were some people that got it and some people that didn't get all the way there. So I want to review some of the common mistakes, and hopefully we can use that as a template for your assignment that I'm going to walk you through today, which is an assessment. It's a test grade called your speciation story, because we are to the end of our understanding how new species arise. That was our phenomena for this unit: how do new species arise? And we are now to the end of that. And instead of doing a test on this one, I'm going to have you do more of a creative hands-on explanation. I'll walk you through that in part 2 of this video. Okay, so I have Miss Berg's model pulled up here. So I'm going to actually look at hers together with you. First of all, I apologize. I had the skin color model in there, and I had that there as a template, and that shouldn't have been there. So sorry if there was confusion about that. Man, oh man. Okay, so this was an example, a really good example. This is Miss Berg. She got a 10 out of 10 on this slide. So each of these slides was worth 10 points for a 30-point assignment total. And she was showing why dark color has a reproductive advantage on the east side. So on the east side, she has the dark colored here, and they can blend in. She has the selective force, the predator, and she's also showing why red has a disadvantage. So if you did not get full credit, you might have left off the predator. You had to show the selective force. You might not have shown the environment. And you might not have shown why red has a disadvantage. Because here's the thing, guys. There's still red salamanders born on this side. There is. It's just if they're ever born, you better believe they're probably going to get eaten because they're going to get seen. So it's not just like the black showed up there and then it was just black, black, black. No, what showed up there was a variety. And only if you had the black did you blend in, or this darker color. The red color would get eaten by predators, would be seen by predators. Okay, then on why did the red have the advantage? Well, it's a mimicry story. So she has her selective force. This heron, so delicious. He's saying about this salamander that it is probably able to see a little bit more, but these guys over here are avoided altogether because they look like this poisonous newt, and nobody wants to eat a poisonous newt. So this was mimicry. Okay, so she had everything she needed there. Excuse me. And then on this slide, this is the most missed slide. The only way you got this is by watching the video, which was on the slide step 1 of this assignment, and then I showed it in the presentation. Okay, this is an example of post-zygotic hybrid inviability. So what does all that mean? That means at the end of the valley, there's the red and the black, and they do currently mate. So that's post-zygotic. But what it told you in their video is their hybrids, their babies, are not good, don't have good camouflage, and they do not look enough like the newt. So every time a black mates with the red, their babies die. So they do not have if you mate with someone who does not look like you have a reproductive disadvantage. So you should have said something like post-zygotic. So they do mate, but the offspring does not survive. So that's hybrid inviability. Okay, so that's what I was looking for there. I want to click on just a few that were good, but we're missing a few points so that if you had this, you can understand where you missed points. All right, so on this one here, first of all, these were real good. I loved nothing here. This person actually did it really well. She only missed points. She does have her selective force, but she missed points because she doesn't share why red has a disadvantage. So if I could take this slide and give her 100%, it would have looked a little bit more like this, where she's showing the red getting eaten and the black have the advantage. So she's left off why the other one has the disadvantage. I want to show you another student's. It was really good. So I really like this one. Showed why, if we look at why the black has an advantage, shows both the red and the black. This was good. Shows the red getting eaten. This was perfect here. Then the red, I would have wanted the newt here because this only works. The selective force is the reason that you have an advantage is because you look like the newt. So those are a couple of examples. And then a lot of people said something like this: if these two mated, they creates a salamander that won't survive or won't be able to reproduce. Well, why? It seems like you didn't get from the video that they're not good mimics and they don't have good camouflage. So if you didn't get full credit, you probably fell into one of those boxes. And I didn't type on all 150 students. I just put the points, and this is going to be your feedback for what you were missing. So this should help you. On my slides, I'm putting an example of some of the good slides as an example for what you're going to do today. Okay, so what is your test? We're at the end. We've made it all the way through. You should understand what evolution is. You should understand what natural selection is. You should understand how natural selection leads to speciation. And then the big picture, you should understand how new species arise. Okay, sorry, I know there's a glare on my glasses. So what you're going to complete for me, first of all, this assignment is called the Speciation comic or Speciation story. You can work individually or you can work with another partner, okay? Either way. You can work with anyone that has Mrs. England as a teacher, okay? So it doesn't have to be in your hour. So this is the planning sheet that I'm going to walk you through in a second. First, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of this planning sheet and walk you through this. Now, unfortunately, I don't have my student examples of these because they are at school and I didn't bring them home with me. But you're going to first make up a character, animal. So you can see I made up the spotted frog story. It can be actual animal that exists and you can have some creativity with it, or you can come up with a new animal. So you'll see example of a new animal here. If you are not a good drawer, don't worry. Okay, and I'll walk you through this in a second. So what is the speciation story? Okay, you are going to create a story book or a comic that walks through how new species arise due to natural selection. Now, I did find this really fancy comic here. This does not get to speciation, but at least kind of gets your mind turning about like what a storybook could look like. Okay, so some of you are going to love this because you're really, really good at art and this is your bag. I would take a moment and read through this. It's the survival of the sneakiest because students always make it be the biggest survive, and this one's not the biggest. So take a moment of your time and read through this graphic comic. It's a pretty quick read, okay? And this will give you some inspiration. All right, so there's an example of a comic, but this comic does not get to speciation. So this would not fit the criteria. All that comic shows is natural selection. Okay, so what else you have to draw from is I created that example with the giraffes. So if you have your giraffe document, that could be like a template, but that does not get you all the way there because again, that does not show you speciation. So you have to take it all the way to speciation. So biology content, what do you have to have in here? The population should start with one ancestral population and branch into two. This is kind of what happened with the frogs. There should be an accurate representation of the environment that each population lives in. So what is the environment of the ancestral population? Okay, what is the environment of the two different populations that get separated? An accurate representation of why each trait has a reproductive advantage in the new habitats and why the other trait would have a disadvantage. So this was on that slide where they were missing why the trait has a disadvantage. So to get full credit here, you can't just show why black has an advantage. For example, you would have to show with your species something more like this. You have to have the awareness that on this side of the mountain, there's still red being born. There's still variation. But whenever those variations are born, they don't survive very well. Okay, so show why this has an advantage and why this has a disadvantage. This has a disadvantage because it gets eaten. Okay, because it can be seen. Okay, so let me go back to here. All right, accurately shows why speciation is occurring. And let's see, I need to add one bullet here as I'm reading this. Imagine that. I need to edit something. You also need to show what, I thought I had this in here. Did I put it in the wrong place? I think I did have it, but it's not here. Okay, it needs to show what was the barrier. What barrier separates the two species, the two populations? So examples could be a city, could be a mountain, could be a river, could be habitat destruction where you have a forest being separated, a forest being separated because they put, a road in between two different parts of a forest. So apparently I don't know how to separate, so let me fix that. Okay, so you need to have some indication of what barrier there was that separated those two populations. So if we think back to the frogs barrier was a mountain. If we think back to the salamanders barrier was a dry valley. So what sort of barrier could you make? And then what are your two habitats on the opposite sides of the barriers? So in the case of the salamanders, they had similar habitats. The only thing that made them different was that there's a poisonous newt on one side. Okay. All right. So you need to show the selective force. So for example, if your force is a predator, you need to make sure you show that. You'll see the survival is sneakiest. The selective force is actually female choice. So you need to show the female's choosing a specific trait. Actually shows how speciation is occurring. And here are the ideas that should be represented in your model. You should have natural selection, so variability, heritability, reproductive advantage, and adaptation. And then to get to speciation, you need to have some sort of barrier, reproductive isolation. What's keeping them from mating? And then how does that result in speciation? Okay, you should not include any of the words adapted, evolved, or need to. Some of you had the words needs to in your call outs. That would be a Lamarckian idea. No, they don't do it because they need to. They do it, they're just born that way and either works or doesn't work. You would also want to represent the idea of, for heritability, that a mutation caused it. Okay, that was one of the things that was missing on some of yours is you didn't have mutations. Okay, so what are the requirements beyond the content of just the story, the book? It should have a creative title. It should not be called The Speciation Story. Okay, each scene should have a caption under it explaining the bulleted science terms. So explaining kind of what you're showing from up here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The comic should be neat, creative, and fully colored. Besides just drawing the organisms, you should include the background. So I went through this with the mice. If they're camouflaged, they should look camouflaged. It should be easy to tell which scene to go to next. So sometimes students in the past have done these and they do a comic and I can't tell whether to go to the right, to the left, or down. So if it's hard, if you do a comic, number the scene so you know that this square is number 1 and this square is number 2. Your callouts and captions should be easy to read. Should be creative and have an amusing storyline, not just a model, but has some sort of story to it. And the survival of the sneakiness, the sneakiest that you read here kind of gives you some ideas of storylines. So you have some creative liberty to kind of make this a fun story. Okay, frequently asked questions. Creatures should be made up, but they can take inspiration from organisms alive today. So you can see here's my little made up organism and here's my little made up organism. Okay, so kind of take some inspiration from organisms, but put your own spin on it. Stick figures are not allowed. However, if you're not a good drawer, I one year had a student do evolution of spike kebabs. Or, I don't know, a fish is really easy to draw. So literally, her organisms, let me draw it for you real quick, where it was a spike that looked like this. That was her organism. And guess what? It turned out to be a really great model, but she was able to still show her story that way. You may work individually or with a partner. If you're working with a partner, what you'll do is one person will do the part of the story, the start of the story, and then up to the barrier. And then they'll do kind of like how someone did one side of the frog and someone did the other side of the frog. Then the other person will take it from the other story. So what's the story on the other side? And then they'll finish it. Okay, so that's how you can split it up equally. One person starts and does their side, and then the other person does their side and then finishes it. Okay, it can be digital or hand-drawn. So some of you are really good at doing digital things. And I'll tell you the part about the digital part that might get a little bit challenging. Due date. The due date is Wednesday, 4/15. So and that will be by 9 a.m., by the start of class, which is 9 a.m. So what does the calendar look like? Today, you are getting a work day to work on the comic today. So you want to think about, do I want to work by myself? Do I want to work with my partner? From 10 to 10:30, I am going to run a virtual office hours. So on the classroom, I'm going to post a link for you to go to if you have questions for me. Like I'm not really sure what this means. I'm going to have virtual office hours. I'm going to do that Thursday today and on Friday tomorrow, on Good Friday. So I'm actually going to have office hours a day that we have off school because I'm guessing that many of you are going to start working on it this weekend and I wanted to be available for you. Okay. Monday, you can email me over the weekend. You can email me if you have questions and I'll address them, but I wanted to give you a chance to actually speak to me and ask questions. Tuesday, I can do virtual office hours again from 10 to 10:30 if that's needed. I'm going to see how it goes with the first 2 days before I make that decision. And then Wednesday, it is due. Now, how do you turn it in? You're going to turn it in via Flipgrid. So you're going to turn it in and you're going to read your story to us. So you're going to be holding open your book. What do I have here? Got Illinois Country Living magazine here. And you're going to tell us the story. And then you're going to hold it up so we can see your pictures. Okay? So you're going to tell us your story and then you can kind of point stuff out to us. You're going to be a storyteller for us. Okay? So when you're making these, you want to make it big enough that people can see it well. So I recommend like full page or at least half page for your comics. You will be attaching it. So you'll be taking pictures of it and attaching it to the Flipgrid. So you're going to take pictures of the comic, upload it to a Google slide, and then you can upload the Google slides to your Flipgrid video. Okay. So I'll post how to do that. It's really simple. You just upload it from your Google Drive. You click on Google and it allows you to upload things. So you're going to do it on paper. That's what I think is the best way. Now, you could do it digitally. That is an option, but I don't know how you're going to share unless you have the ability to take a video with like your phone and then share your Flipgrid video with your phone and then share your computer screen. You'll have to mess around with that a little bit. Or maybe it's just easier to draw it. So if you wanted to do it digitally, you could. You're just going to have to show us your computer screen, and you're going to read it from your computer screen. You can always then upload it to the classroom for us to see. So we're going to have some digital story time. And then your next assignment will be to get on and to listen to some people's stories. Okay? So let's see. If you're struggling with inspiration, since I don't have any student examples, scroll down here and you can just kind of like peek at these. Hopefully this gives you some inspiration, because it goes through the different types of reproductive isolation that you could choose from for like the bottom of your scenes. If you need a review of speciation, click on this Amoeba Sisters video. She goes through the different types of speciation. If you're trying to think what are the selective forces, it doesn't always have to be predators. It could be like your ability to get food. Think like the mouth of an anteater. It could be disease. I mean, hello, coronavirus. Like if you're born with the ability to fight it off for some reason. It could be the accumulation of waste. So you do not have to do just predators. It also could be sexual selection where the females choose. Okay. All right. So starting point. Decide if you want to work individually or with a partner. Then I think the starting point would be this planning sheet. So if working in pairs, you're going to share this document with your partner and you're going to type your partner's name there, and then you only need to fill out one of these. So what you want to think about first is who's your target audience. Do you want your target audience to be a young person? Like, are you making it for like a probably not a 4-year-old, but for like a 10-year-old? Or are you making this for a high schooler? Who is your target audience? So do you want to make it kind of like dumbed down, or not dumbed down, but like at a lower level? Or do you want to make it more at like, hey, my target audience is someone in my class? What will your organism be for your ancestral population? So what organism are you going to take inspiration from and kind of add some fun stuff to it? And then what environment does it live in, like the ancestors, and how does its adaptations work there? And then how did your original population become separated? Was it a mountain, a river, a city, habitat destruction, anything else that you can think of? Then what will the environments be for each population? What adaptations? So in your two different populations, what are the two different environments and what are their adaptations? And then finally, how are you going to show that they are a different species? Okay, here is the rubric that I'm going to use. You see you have content, illustrations, the captions and dialogue, just overall appearance. I'm going to put in with spelling and grammar, and then the creativity. So if you just do a boring model that doesn't have any sort of, I don't know, probably spark of humor to it, you're probably not going to get full on the creativity. Okay, that's the description of your speciation storybook or speciation comic. Again, I'll be on Google Meet at 10 a.m. to 10:30, and there'll be a link on the classroom tomorrow that you can click on. And when you click onto that, I'll be there, and you can ask me any questions that you have about it or see if you're on the right track. And I'm going to do that on today, which is Thursday, and I'm going to do it again on Friday just to help you guys get started. And if need be, I can do that again Tuesday, the day before the assignments due. Okay. All right. Signing off. Remember, just last thing, this is a test grade for you. So it's you really showing what you figured out about natural selection and about speciation. And where you can take inspiration from is your giraffes. You've done this already with your salamanders. If you missed points on the salamanders, hopefully the video, what I went through at the beginning, is explaining what you missed and how to get full credit on this assignment. Okay, that's it for now. Have a great evening. Pause this.